Yeah, guys, so this next topic comes right from the mind of Earl, and the only other thing that we do that comes right from the mind of Earl is the Ultimate 216 show, and he's got a special guest lining up for this week. Earl, do you want to promo anything, a little sneak peek?
Yeah, man, we had Abdullah Mason live in studio after he went 14-0. He since then went 15-0, so he's going to be joining me on the Ultimate 216 show tomorrow at 5 p.m. to talk about his recent victory, what's coming up next. We're going to talk about some Cleveland Browns football and just what it's like growing up in the inner city of Cleveland, Ohio. But, yeah, I kind of got my Ice Cube on, like when you produce and you be on panel for a segment you produce.
Do the same thing, yeah.
So I was, just thinking yesterday about, okay, topics like me and you always do. Newsflash, me and Mike got the little note section in our phone, and we probably got like 1,000 topics apiece saved in there. And I got to thinking about the Kansas City Chiefs, how if the Browns want to, reach their overall goal, 9 times out of 10, you're going to have to go through Kansas City to do it, which is winning the Super Bowl. But then I also thought about how hard it is to three-peat in the NFL. And I'm high on the Cleveland Browns. Like, of course, a lot of people in the city are looking at this team as a team that can go deep into the playoffs. But we also have never won the AFC North. And it just got me to thinking about what's more likely in 2024 at the end of the season. The Cleveland Browns win the division or the Kansas City Chiefs win their 3rd consecutive Super Bowl.
I actually want you to start on this. I know we talk about how a host sets it up and then goes, but I want you to start because I know how you're going to answer. I'm 99% sure I know how Jason's going to answer, and I go back and forth. But I want to give you guys a little context to these numbers before Earl tells us.
I got to go with the Cleveland Browns winning the AFC North because a three-peat in the Super Bowl, a three-peat, in the NFL has not happened since the 60s, right?
65, 66, 67, the Lombardi Packers.
History just says it's hard as hell to do. It probably won't happen. And to, go through that gauntlet year in and year out, it's mentally taxing, especially when everybody is gunning for you. And people might not want to admit this, but you can just see if you watch the Kansas City Chiefs play last year that it seemed like teams were starting to catch up to their system and their philosophy, right? Starting to learn how to counter what they do well. And I only really expect that to still be the case going forward. Every team in the NFL knows that the Kansas City Chiefs is the standard. Damn near every team, no matter NFC or AFC, believe if I need to win the Super Bowl, I have to beat Kansas City. And so in my mind, every GM and every head coach is preparing their team to do just that. And I just feel like, man, when you're trying to go through that gauntlet of winning 3 straight Super Bowls, it's damn near impossible. And, the AFC North is going to be tough. But the Browns, by all accounts, got one of the best teams overall in the NFL. And when you play inside your division and you can win your division games, and we've seen the Browns in recent years, really match up mano-a-mano against every team in this division, I just got more confidence in my boys being able to bring home that North title than Kansas City going out there winning their 3rd straight Super Bowl.
Jason?
I agree, the Browns. No, come on. This is Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs we're talking about. Now, it's actually an interesting question. It's pitiful in a way. Can one team win their 3rd straight Super Bowl, or can one team win their freaking division for the first time in 35 years?
They've never won this current construct of the AFC North. Yeah.
Correct. The last time they won any sort of division, I was 13. Were you even born in 1989?
Nope.
Were you born in 89?
Yeah, I was born in 87.
Oh, thank God. Well, at least, you were on this earth.
Yeah,
even if you don't remember it.
I don't remember it. I say the pictures.
I'm a little bit concerned about this Brown season, just where we stand right now. I just don't love some of the things that are going on, what we're hearing, what I've heard coming out with some of the offensive line stuff and quarterback play and everything else. I just don't love where they're at. It doesn't mean they can't pull it together and make the playoffs, but when you look at the division and you look at who they're going up against in this division, unfortunately, I think the Chiefs, because of Patrick Mahomes and who they are and the culture they have, and Patrick Mahomes and Patrick Mahomes and Patrick Mahomes, I just think that it's more likely that the Chiefs are going to win another Super Bowl.
Yeah, Patrick Mahomes' playoff record is 15-3.
That's insane.
He's made at least the AFC Championship in every season he's been the starter. He is the undisputed, unquestioned, despite what the NFL Top 100 says, best player in football, and the gap between him and everyone else is pretty damn big. They also have Andy Reid, who with Bill Belichick retiring, is the best coach in football. They still have Travis Kelce. They still have Chris Jones. They revamped their receiver core. And when you look at the Browns, they have questions at quarterback. Deshaun has to prove he's Deshaun before we could fully buy in, and he has to prove his shoulder is healthy again to play quarterback at a high level. We don't know about Nick Chubb. We don't know about the offensive line situation. But here's what we do know. This defense has a chance to be damn good again in 2024.
Facts, big facts.
We also know the Bengals are a poverty franchise, and their best player right now, outside of Joe Burrow, is not in camp.
And they copycats.
And they're copycats. And they lost some key pieces on defense. And their offensive line is still a question mark, despite the additions they made this offseason. And also, is Joe Burrow's hand healthy? That's another surgery, just like Deshaun's, that's unprecedented. We don't 100% know how his thumb's going to be. He's played in the preseason. We've seen a little glimpse, but can Joe Burrow stay healthy for 17 games? I don't know. I don't think his injuries get talked about enough. So I have my questions about the Bengals. The Ravens lost their defensive coordinator, who was damn good, by the way. Lost Jadeveon Clowney. They bring Derrick Henry in. Derrick Henry's like 48 years old at this point. Still terrific, but he has question marks. They lost some key pieces in that secondary. Geno Stone, gone. Can Marlon Humphrey stay healthy? I don't know. The Steelers have Russell Wilson and Justin Fields going through a quarterback battle. So there's some uncertainty in the AFC North too, Earl. So if you're asking me, do I have to pick between Patrick Mahomes and his 15-3 playoff record, or the Browns and the questions around their offense in this up-in-the-air AFC North? I'm taking the Cleveland Browns. And here's why. Because FanDuel says their odds to win the AFC North are 450, and the Chiefs' odds to win the Super Bowl are 600. So going on FanDuel odds, give me the Browns, who have a lower odds or better odds, technically, to win the AFC North. And I just think the AFC North, as good as the division is, all the teams have questions. Every single team has questions. And I could truly see the Browns finishing first or fourth. It all depends on how Deshaun plays. And until I see Deshaun play poorly again, I may be grasping for air, but I'm going to lean on the optimistic side that he's back to the Deshaun the Browns thought they were trading for. And if he is, there's no reason the Browns can't win the division. And the Chiefs should compete for the Super Bowl, but I'm just bored of the Chiefs. They're so good. They cannot win.
You know, on the other platform, maybe about a month and a half ago, I had Tyvus on. Mm-hmm. And one of the questions I asked Tyvus was, when you look at all the turnover on the offensive side of the ball, in your opinion, do you believe that the Cleveland Browns will get off to a slow start this season? And I remember him saying that it wouldn't shock or surprise him if they did. And then I just listened to, you know, your take on your concerns going into this season. In my group chat with my friends, they was asking me about it this morning. And, you know, if I'm being honest with myself and honest with everybody else, there is some cause for concern. I'm still very optimistic about this season, but I'm not going to lie and say like I don't sit here and act like I don't have no cause like for concern. That left tackle position, like, it's
a legit
iffy.
issue.
It's a legit issue, right? And then the fact that you got a brand new offense, you got all these new coaches in here, and the lack of continuity because of injuries or whatever else, is like, you know, training camp is for everybody that's going to be playing on the same unit, is to gain that chemistry and that cohesiveness. And the Browns weren't able to do that with the offensive line, with the wide receivers, etc. And I have to be realistic about this is the NFL. I find it hard to believe that the Cleveland Browns are going to hit the ground running with, you know, simply based off of timing, chemistry, continuity, all these new voices. You know, people are still going to being out there trying to figure things out. Now, with that being said, the Browns are a good football team. So their learning curve is not the one of, say, like a Las Vegas Raiders if they had that same type of turnover. So I think they'll still put forth some quality football, but you will see the learning curves. You will see the hurdles and the hiccups along the way throughout the first 4 or 5 weeks of the season. And I think, you know, like, if people have that realistic expectation, they won't be so pissed off if it don't look like they expect them to.
Jason, when Earl was saying that, made me think. All the turnover on the staff. Mm-hmm. And this probably is a topic for another day. I'm going to ask you to guess, and Earl, please chime in on this off the fly. We'll do some more research. How often is coaching change, especially from a coordinator and a position? We always assume it's going to be an upgrade. How often is it actually an upgrade? Like, can you go back to the last 15, 20 years of Browns, be a head coach, coordinator, whatever, where it's, you always get excited for the new guy. But what percentage of it is actually a hit versus a step back? And this is probably a research topic.
Yeah, it's impossible to answer.
Yeah.
And
I'm going to add it to my list that Earl mentioned of.
And especially like a sitting head coach with a new coordinator, and then because it can be different and not necessarily better or worse. It's just different.
It's just different, right?
Yeah. So it's hard. I guess you could look at the numbers of where did you rank and how many yards did you, how many points and how many did you allow, what did you gain, and you can have a definitive. It got better or worse, but I don't know if that's a perfect indicator either. I just think it's different schemes bring different results, and it's just different. It's not necessarily better or worse, but sure, there are instances of things that you think are going to be better, and then it takes a step back. Freddie Kitchens as a head coach comes to mind, and
whoop the hell.
and then he brought Monken with him, right? And Todd Monken's a great offensive coordinator, but it didn't work here, and he's back in the college ranks, isn't he? Is he Alabama or Georgia?
He was at Georgia, but didn't he go back?
I think he's in Baltimore.
Is he back in Baltimore?
Yeah, I think he's in Baltimore. Yeah, he revamped their offense. He went to Georgia, won a championship. Then he went to
You're right. He was
Baltimore,
in Baltimore last year, wasn't
yeah.
he? Yeah. All right. My brain's catching up.
No, but do you see the question I'm asking, though? Like, we always just assume, hey, switching AVP to and I'm just using that example, but it happens to every team. We always think it's going to be an upgrade because it's new. How often does the history actually suggest?
Who was the DC prior to Joe Woods? But again, it's a whole new scheme. It's a whole new coaching staff.
What was the guy? Ray? Was it Ray?
Wasn't Greg Williams? That was
the guy that used to be the Cardinals head
coach. Yeah.
Steve Wilkes.
Steve Wilkes.
Was Wilkes right before? I don't remember now. There've been so many come through here, but I don't know if that was necessarily an upgrade when Joe Woods came in.
Yeah.
Well, Schwartz to Woods was definitely an upgrade.
That was an upgrade.
Yeah.
And I know, like, man, there's so much meat on this bone, and we'll probably have to save it for another time. But
we got to research it to.
Yeah, but it's like Jason is talking about the different schemes and things like that, but it's the personalities as well. Tua came out in the recent days and had some choice comments about Brian Flores, and as I was listening to the radio, they were talking about Wyatt Teller had appeared on a podcast, and he talked about the biggest difference from playing with. For Bill Callahan versus the new offensive line coach, how, Callahan is old school. He'll grill you and how, because you had to mentally prepare for his style, it may come into work some days a little difficult to where, he used the words like this is like a breath of fresh air because of his personality. And it wasn't just the offensive coordinator change, right? It was the OC, it was the running backs coach, it was the tight ends coach, it was the O-line coach. There was so much changeover within, the coaching staff on that side of the ball that I think it's fair to say, like, okay, it's going to be a learning curve once we actually hit the ground running because nobody has had live real game reps together. We've seen other teams throughout this preseason, play their starters for a series or two way before they got to the final preseason game. For whatever reason, that wasn't our case. Injury, our own plan, etc. I'm just saying, like, I just think it would be unrealistic to not expect them to kind of have to, like, ramp this thing up as they get the season going.
Totally that. And I'll dig in and do the research of the list of, like, chronological order, Schwartz to Woods to whoever it was, and same with offensive coordinators. And maybe one day we come in and I'll pick some numbers to kind of give you a commonplace. The NFL changes, so passing yards may skyrocket, but the passing offense may actually not be that much better. But I think that'll be a fun discussion before the season to just kind of give a little context to coaching changes. And what does the chat say? Browns win the division or Chiefs win a third Super Bowl?
What do you think?
They're pretty split. But
really?
It is 53% Browns win the North. 47% say Chiefs three-peat.
That's way closer than I expected.
What was the DTR Huntley one?
I was like 75% DTR.
That's what
25 Huntley.
Yeah.
I got a bold prediction for the season.
What you got?
My man Darren Smith ain't gonna like this.
Darren's texting me and saying there's no way in hell that the Chiefs don't win a third.
Well, I know
Super Bowl,
Darren is watching. I know Darren is listening. My big bold prediction is the Kansas City Chiefs won't even make it to the AFC Championship game this year.
I thought you were going to say won't even make the playoffs.
Yeah, that's bold. That's spicy.
I think that we're going to see two different teams in the AFC Championship this year. That's my bold prediction.
My bold prediction is Darren's going to text you in about 4 seconds.
He probably is.
It's a 30-second delay.
He probably is.
Crack. So
he probably is. So, but that's why it's bold, though, right? It's something that you got to stand up there.
Isn't it? last thing, and then we'll move on because I think this Bleacher Report trade topic, Ant, is going to be a lot
real
of
quick
fun.
though, I do want to know what two teams are making it, Earl. If the Chiefs aren't making it,
Browns versus who? I know you're picking the Browns.
I'm gonna be honest with you, man. There's gonna be a certain team that the Cleveland Browns are gonna face 3 times this year.
Ooh, Baltimore.
I think so.
That'd be fun.
I think so.
The fact that Mahomes has made the AFC Championship 6 straight years and is 15-3 in the playoffs is just stupid.
Yeah, I'm just
Just
saying, man. Like
It's just a stupid stat.
Listen, listen. New England was the greatest dynasty I've ever seen over the last 20 years, man. Even they had down a year or two. So
Yeah.